We want to welcome all our debate to our viewers to Friday night debate on Focus on Liberian. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. Tonight, we're going to be looking at the politics around the vice presidential picks. With me to discuss it, we have the unapologetic and unabashed citizen is also the host on Point, Mr. Jerome Gaiman. Mr. Gaiman, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure being here Friday nights.
Let me welcome the perfect manager. Recently, he has endorsed the candidacy of Joseph Newman Boakai. So he has moved from independent to a Boakai supporter. Perfect manager, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Let me welcome the independent Welle Momba. That's Alice Wilson Momba, or Welle A. Wilson. She's independent minded. Welle, welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Thank you, Dennis. It's always a pleasure being here.
Let me welcome a brother of the presidential aspirant, Councillor Tiawanse Gonglow. That's Mr. Kalebo Gonglow. He's the leader or the founder of the African Math Genius Project. He loves numbers. So what are the numbers saying, Mr. Gonglow? Welcome to the debate.
My pleasure, Dennis. But let me add that it was good that I appeared tonight. I didn't know Morris has endorsed Boakai.
Yes.
That is the breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news, that's right. We flush him out.
I've had a series of conversations with Morris, and I'm shocked.
We'll talk about all of that tonight.
All right.
We want to welcome all our viewers. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. Invite your friend, share the show, and let's get started. Well, again, want to welcome. There's a lot of breaking news. First one being that Morris has endorsed Mr. Boakai. So that's the breaking news right here on Focus on Liberia. We are happy to break this news. Morris, welcome. How is it, man? What prompted you to be on GNP side?
It's good to be back here again, Dennis. And I took some time off, during the month of Ramadan because it was really, tight for me to do the show. But, coming back, I have a little bit of cold, so I'm a little under the weather, so you're aware, because my voice will be a little scatty. But, I've been following events in Liberia for quite a while. Like my brother Kelebo have said, we've had several conversations about our country and the direction the country has been taking over under this gangster leadership of Weah and his goons. We've always pondered over the process in which we can save the country from these people. Share a lot of ideas about how we thought saving this country is going to require significant amount of support from the Liberian people that are making the voting decision. The Liberian people are resolved to replace Weah. The Liberian people are resolved to make Ambassador Joseph Newman Boakai the next president. That's something that I'm aware of because I've had several conversations with people on the ground that are professionals that understand the politics of numbers, that understand the influence of how decisions are made around the political scene. It seems evident now that Liberian people are resolved to get Weah out. But it's also evident now that Ambassador Weah is the one that they want to take to the executive mansion in January of 2024. And so obviously I would prefer anyone in executive mansion right now than George Weah and his people. Because clearly,
what specifically drew you to Mr. Boakai? Is it that because the Liberians want him, or is it because you want him?
I think overwhelmingly there are calls to have Ambassador Boakai as the next president. And like I said, I would prefer anyone in the executive mansion over Weah. And because I see where the majority is leaning, I think it makes sense to rally around that leadership to get Ambassador Weah in office. But beyond all of that, I waited to see how he makes his decision on his running mate. And it seemed like he made a good decision on electing Jeremiah Cohn from Nima County as his running mate. So all of those things contributed to my decision to endorsing
Thank
Ambassador
you.
Barkai. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Gonglow, why are you shocked? I mean, everybody, you got to be part of the system. You got to take somebody. Sitting on the fence is not an option.
Well, Dennis, before I just make comment on that, are we going to go with the agenda we have for the night?
Yes,
Morris?
we're warming up.
Okay, so listen.
Yeah, you started the conversation, so let's warm up to it.
No, Morris and I have had conversation many times. Okay, I mean, he's an upcoming development expert, particularly in the area of conflict management and development. So, he understands to some extent Liberia problem, the challenges Liberia faces. He worked at the Ministry of Finance under President Salih. So he has some good understanding of what are some of the challenges. What has happened, in recent months, particularly with a leading opposition leader taking someone who served in the legislature with Ambassador Boaka, who was co-chair to Thomas Falana Ways and Means Committee, who there is an indisputable record of financial malpractices, who has amassed wealth beyond imagination, for a man who his supporters say he's a clean man. So if you mirror that, it reflects on 2017 decision that he chose Emmanuel Nunkwe. That was clear, evidential, that Nunkwe was chairman of Ways and Means Committee, and that's how he became wealthy. Through corruption, through public corruption. And Thomas Fala and Jeremiah Kun followed the same suit. This is becoming a pattern, not even a mistake in 2017 by Ambassador Boaka. So that is even one departing point. Morris is for transparency, fighting corruption. Can this man now fight corruption? Let's forget about even the issue of accountability in Liberia, because of the civil war. Let's forget about that one. He's a conflict man. He knows how to deal with that. But let's even talk, how do we fight public corruption? And your chief lieutenant is a person that their evidence staffers are demonstrating, accusing of eating their money. Prince Johnson is calling him a corrupt man on video, on audio, on radio station. This is a man who there is audio that I can also produce tonight, telling his daughter, vomit with the money, vomit with the money. All that, okay? And so many more, that because this show is not about him. So I want to go into that.
Thank you.
Saying that's a good decision. That's a man who is prepared on day one to be president of Liberia. Are you killing me, Morris?
Thank you, Mr. Gonglow.
It shows to me that Morris's decision is the same culture in Liberia. In 2017, the corrupt people went one side to where we bombarded them. The corrupt people swayed this time to the other side. Say, oh, come. In fact, you are the best. That shows the character of Liberian professional and Liberian voter.
Thank you, Morris. Please hold your thought. I want Wale and
Morris,
to wait.
I would love to just
Yeah, just hold your thought. You'll come back. Okay. I want Wale, you've been here with Morris, and you're part of the independent group. Morris has what do you make of his decision to switch over to Boaka, or are you two on your way?
Well, I don't want to say I'm shocked tonight, but a little surprised that from his explanation, it seems to me like he's supporting Ambassador Boaka because he feels majority is supporting him and he might win the presidency. So he doesn't want to be on the side of losers. But I think it's very important to stand for what you stand for regardless. If Ambassador Boaka wins, he's still going to be the president for everybody. But we have to be principle-minded on what we do and stick with what we believe in. So if you support somebody, or if you as an individual do not believe in corruption, and there's evidence that somebody that you are supporting is corrupt, and people can attest to that, it kind of bothers me. I know he's not a president or he's not a presidential candidate, but he's number two person. There's possibility that he could become the next president of Liberia. So that means you're still going to stick with him because you made a choice. So again, it's an individual choice. I'm not going to blame him for that. He has his reason. But the reasons that I hear tonight, that I'm hearing from him, they are not convincing. For me especially, I don't follow, I don't follow the crowd. I believe in what I believe in, and I stick with that.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me hear from the sedition, Mr. Gilman.
Well, for Mr. Krumah, I'm not surprised, and I had to side with Mr. Krumah. The first day that I interacted with him, I told you all on this show, this man was a closeted, a man who did not believe in anything. He would fall for anything. He was a cold-hearted unity partisan. He was a worshiper of Joseph Yuma Boykai. He was in a closet, and you laughed it off. And I quoted Ellen Johnson Sirleaf about 3 months ago when they were asking her on the OKFM that during her administration there were a lot of corruption and a lot of mismanagement. She said yes. And they asked her, what was your mistake? She said, my mistake was that I hired unprincipled people, many of whom were transitory, Liberian transitory, that people who just came in the country to loot and leave. And we had capital flight. So when Ellen Johnson Sirleaf said she regretted bringing people within her government that she found to be unprincipled and transitory, and then you find my young brother here who was sitting here talking, walking like a unity partisan. If a quack and walk like a duck, is a duck. So I'm not surprised. This is not a breaking news. Kamara has been a closeted supporter of the unity partisan. Everybody knows who he is, and we have talked about it. So it's a breaking news to other folks because for a whole year he has been here. He has been a political cross-dresser. He's been cross-dressing as an independent, but actually we know underneath that dress he's a Joseph Boykai supporter and unity partisan.
Thank you. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You heard from them, and you heard Mr. Krumah. Mr. Krumah, I give you the last word on this so we can start our topic tonight.
Yeah, it'll only be fair. I just wanted to address some of the issues that Kelebo raised. I think he made some valuable points, and I respect whatever those positions are. But just like Kelebo has said, and I'm not going to dignify Jerome's comments. It's immature. So I'm just going to address what Kelebo said. When we look at the political culture of Liberia, you cannot say that we have a country where when you start talking about clean hands in politics in Liberia, you are living in a dream world. You are in it's a farce. Here is the same scenario of one of the political candidates that is aspiring to be president of Liberia, came with this same mentality of clean hands and trying to do what is right. Now he's in bed with everybody else that he acted with. So on the broader scheme of things, there are three ways that this election is going to turn out. There are three key political parties in this election that no matter what, those three parties, one of them will be president in January of 2024. It's either going to be George Weah, it's going to be Alexander Cummings, or it's going to be Joseph Yuma Boykai, right? For me, as a person, as a Liberian, one of the things that I want to see happen is to see we are out of the executive, him and his people out of the executive mansion, but to also see them get prosecuted. Caleb, just give me a chance, Chief. You spoke. I waited for all of you to speak. I didn't interrupt anybody. I waited for you to vent out. So give me a chance to speak, Chief. So my objective here as a Liberian is to see Weah and his people out of office, but not just out of office, but to see them get prosecuted publicly for some of the mismanagement of the state, because they really have abused the country. We've seen it all across different segments of governance, whether it's public, financial management, whether it's just ethical behavior. They haven't even managed themselves ethically. So for us to have at some point, we really were convinced that it was going to be a Joseph Boakai Cummings ticket, and that would have been a first rounder. Unfortunately, it did not happen. So right now, I believe honestly that Joseph Numa Boakai is the person that can take Weah out of this office and set our country back. At least stop the bleeding for now, and then set us on a path where we can start going ahead. Because at this point, we are in reverse at 65 miles per hour.
Thank you.
Our
Well, welcome back. I think that was a good way to start the debate tonight, to start with Mr. Kroman. So this time, the ANC, Liberty Party, they are in Ganta for the convention. Today was they told me, was the convention for ANC and Liberty Party, separate conventions. Tomorrow will be the convention of the CPP, where the standard bearer will be announced or coronated, and also the vice presidential pick will be announced. There will be other running legislative candidates will also be announced in that convention. We have not really heard people on Mr. Cummings' short list, but we've been hearing that he's talking to people. One of those that he spoke with, that is confirmed, he spoke with was Yombli Kanga, who was also on the short list of Mr. Joseph Numa Boakai. We learned that Yombli turned this down. My first question here, was it a smart move for Mr. Cummings to go after Yombli? Let me start with Mr. Gaiman.
Well, honestly, if you are struggling, as the ANC has been over the years, where basically their messages, their gesture to the Liberian people, their attempt to put down roots in the country have not succeeded, it makes sense to go on a fishing expedition. In the United States, we say you throw as much mud as you can and see what sticks. And that's what he was doing there. And going to Yombli Kanga, anybody who has some expediency and some idea and some knowledge of political maneuvering, you wouldn't go to a party or partisan, a person that you have just offended, a woman whose party was destroyed, dismembered, someone that was outcast, expelled from her own party. That showed desperation. And why I see that as a desperation, he had no other choice but to bring somebody of that character on his ticket. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But for me, I think at some point you have to put your pride aside and then say, you know what, this boat is sinking. Let me do all I can to make sure that I save myself and my crew. Unfortunately for him, it didn't work.
Mr. Gonglow, we all know what happened between the Unity Party, the ANC, and Yombli Kanga, or the other side of the Liberty Party, from the time they were in the CPP, going to court, the Liberty Party splitting, and all that has happened. Was it? And then we saw that Yombly was shortlisted on Broadcast Late, did not get it, and she was almost angry about that, although she tried not to show it. Now, is it a good thing, or was it smart for Mr. Cummings to go after Yombly, or did that expose him anyway? Because sometimes you have to capitalize on the mistakes of your opponent. How you look at that? How you look at Mr. Cummings going after Yombly to be his running mate? Smart move, bad move, desperation.
I think going after Yomley, I think was a good idea by anyone to do because if you look at the spectrum, at the moment, only Joy Howard Taylor is a female on any major political party ticket now. So, given the number of women registered voters, or even in the population, globally there is rise in women achievement across the spectrum, across all fields.
You have more women in Liberia than men, so there are many women. We're talking about Yombly.
Yeah, no. So I have to give a context to that.
Okay.
So when that situation happened, Yombly, prior to that situation, that catastrophic decision by Ambassador Boaka, Yombly was not given much of an attention until after that decision. A lot of women who were not even Yombly supporter came in sympathy with her. I mean, they empathize or situation. Even people who might not have been on her side, from people who say, I never voted for Yomli, but now I'm with her in this. She was not treated fairly by Unity Party. So she garnered some political or capital from this. And I can tell you quite honestly, if I were a vassal to Yomli, I probably would have entered the race. And moved, because this was a moment she needed to seize on, either to join another opposition leader and then take that political capital she garnered as result of the sympathy she gained across the country. Because with even the Unity Party activists were actually in love with Yomli already.
And we'll come on to Yombly's side whether it was good for her to turn it down. But what I'm asking is for Cummings.
It's a good thing for anybody, not only Cummings. It's a good thing for even where to go after Yombly. It's a good thing for Councillor Gonglow to go after her. It's a good thing for Cummings to go after her, because you know what? She garnered some political capital that she never had before. Some people moved in her corner who were never there before as a result of that. We follow a lot of social media, a lot of different discussions. Yes, she garnered some relevance in different quarters that she never had.
But looking at what has happened between Yombly and Cummings in the past, I mean, you still think that was the right thing to do?
It was the right thing, because you know what? Everyone who comes or who seeks the leadership of Liberia, they say one thing, that Liberia, the interests of Liberia outweighs the interests or individual differences. That's what everybody says. Even all of us on the show tonight, we can all say, and there's one thing we all agree on, that the interest of Liberia is paramount to anyone's interest. In fact, it is the reason why I'm shocked at Morris, because Morris has buried Liberia interest to only side with the side that he believes will potentially win. That's what Morris has done. He has buried Liberia interest. He has put Liberia interest secondary to his personal satisfaction.
Thank you. Well, what do you make of Cummings' decision to go after Yombly? Looking back at what has transpired, was it possible for them to mend fences? Cummings was just exposing himself so that people see that, oh, he came to me.
I think what happened, Cummings was trying to take advantage of the fact that the Unity Party did not choose Yombly. And so he felt like going to her to ask her would have made her to agree. But one thing I think he should have done from the beginning was to make sure that repair was done from what happened in the past. So if that had been done, and then the Liberty Party was together and had one political leader, then by this time asking her would have been something, in my view, that would have worked out. But that was not done. So Yombly, in her own mind, felt like he came to her because maybe he felt like she was in a desperation. And at the same time, she didn't want to be seen as just agreeing to something just because she was downhearted by the action of Unity Party. And another thing again is that Yombly didn't really want to be in this position because she would have asked to be the leader of a party as one leader. So asking Yombly would have meant that she was going to be making demands, knowing very well that her party is split into two based on confusion in the past. She wouldn't have just sat there and agreed without making some demands. And those demands were not going to be something that will easily be put into action by Cummings or anybody at this time.
So why will Cummings, knowing all that, still go into talking to Yombly?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He felt like because of the disappointment from the Unity Party, maybe it's going to be easy for Yombly to accept. So he took a chance. But in my view, he should have made sure that though whatever confusion in the past, they would have settled everything by this time before making that move. So it was not timely to me.
Thank you, Morris. We are all guys, right? A woman is going through divorce; is not even finalized, and that's the woman you going to approach, right? What was it? Was it a smart move on the part of Mr. Cummings to be talking to Yombly to be running mate? First of all, it will appear that he probably didn't have. I mean, we all know he never had Yombly on his short list. So going to Yombly at that time, what does that say about Mr. Cummings? Smart?
So I would take this thing from plenty different dimensions. One is the fact that all of us, I agree with Kelebo on the gender aspect of it. It's actually very important to have Yombly the only, at some point in Liberian history, just before the last midterm, Yombly was the only female senator, and she's from a majority, one of the majority counties of the country. So yeah, she fit, a certain profile to elect her. Now, if you look at the whole CPP arrangement originally, it would have made some sense among all of them to kind of figure out how to get this political marriage together. Unfortunately, the CPP broke out. Everybody went their way. Musa Belete was having his own internal crisis with the other Liberty Party. That diminished significantly Yombly's profile politically. That's why I disagree with Kelebo on the fact that he believes that Yombly profile elevated. I think it diminished. The fact that she could not win any legal case against Musa Belete in court diminished her profile significantly. And so it created an opportunity for Joseph Boakai also to say, well, if this lady cannot, if all of this internal thing, they can't resolve the issues that they're having, she's not able to win legal case against this guy. How confident am I that Yombly can deliver Grand Bassa County? We just had an experience with this senator from Magibi who did not win his county in 2017. I don't want to go through that drama again. So I need to figure out either support her and get her to a point where she established serious control over our party again, or we go a different direction. It turns out, JMB went a different direction. Now, the Cummings aspect of it is where I kind of sense desperation from the Cummings team, because you cannot wait for Joseph Boakai to choose between two competing interests and then suddenly come and say, okay, because to be honest, in any political competition, there are two things that happens. There will be a group of people that will celebrate the decision. There will be a group of people that will be disappointed. The disappointed group usually becomes the vulnerable group. And Cummings and his team thought, well, Yombly is vulnerable right now. Let's go and quote her and see what we can get out of it as a test. It turns out it didn't turn out well for them, but it made them look desperate. And social media, pick it up easily because everybody kept talking about it and kept talking about it to where it became as though Cummings did not have any plan on what profile, what he's looking for, what his running mate should look like. It seemed like there was no plan. Let's just wait for Joseph Barker. When you choose one person, we'll go to the other side and go talk to the other people. Because even Jeremiah Cohn has admitted that Cummings and his team reached out to him as a potential running mate. So it shows that there was some sort of desperation in the Cummings camp.
Thank you. Mr. Gonglow, some even said that this whole CPP breakdown, Yombly has something to do with it, right? Because she was very quick to throw in the towel and did not contest. Have Yombly also contested for the presidency or for the standard bearership of the CPP, that would have elevated her profile, but she didn't do that. It's like she was not really thinking about leadership at that time. All right. So at this time, where she was going through, her divorce was not even finalized, she was appearing disgruntled to Joseph Newman Boakai. She did not attend the ceremony, and there were reports. People took pictures. I cannot confirm that she refused to shake hands with Jeremiah Cohn and all that. So in that process, and you were saying it was smart move for Cummings to quote her at that time to be his running mate. Then what also that tell us is about Cummings, who were you talking to before?
Well, Dennis, I will say this way. Firstly, I don't agree with the use of the terminology of divorce because there was no marriage here. What was happening here was a normal political process where people get together and talk. The only marriage that would have taken place would have been a CPP. You have the CPP held together.
No, but LP, that part of LP supported Boakai, right? So they were together.
So that was not a marriage. That was not a marriage.
What, dating?
Where I believe they were talking to each other.
Cohabiting.
But I will tell you this.
Right, cohabiting is the right word.
I will say this. I don't even want to get into these terminology. But here's what I will say. There is no record during the time of the CPP where Yomdi Kanga openly declared any support for Joseph Boakai. The only person who came closer to that from Yomdi Kanga's side to saying Boakai was Darius the one he said, I think I'm leaning Boakai. Without even say I support Boakai.
Mr. Gonglow, that was obvious.
So let's so there was nothing else. But everybody, there was this expectation, of course, because if you are being in the political party before, you are being behind these behind the door negotiation, everyone believed it was a public opinion that Boakai might have given some sort of assurance to Yomli. That's why she couldn't go to compete, to put herself as a competitor in the CPP process. I mean, that was the understanding that yes, Boakai has given some assurance for the female votes and all this stuff. Yes, it was not written, and Yomli has not spoken to that. Boakai has not spoken to that. But I believe there was something like that because that's what Boakai has, been going back and forth to Buchanan to kind of try to specify her that hey, you stay with us. There are a lot you can gain if I become president. You can do this. We can make you president pretend. You can be the third person in succession in the country. Those kinds of promises have been made to her. But I would say, for me, if I were advising Yomli, I would put the interest of Liberia first.
Go ahead, Caleb. Sorry for interrupting.
No, I'll let you.
Yeah, because I want to say something, but I want you to finish.
No, say something. I like interactive discussion. Say it.
I mean, I to be honest, I think you are making politics you are bringing some sort of moral comparative between what politics is versus, what politics is fluid. You can make you can make a promise and a decision now, and in 3 days that decision can change just because of the political dynamics shifting. So when someone like, even if JMB made a promise to Yombly to say 6 months ago, I promise you you'll be my running mate, and because of all of the different things that are happening, just like Dennis is saying, there are things that Yombly have lost some points. So let's be honest, she lost some significance. So you can't be fighting Musa Belete and you're not winning any case against him. At the same time, that's true. Dennis just pointed out it's a key fact in the whole case that between Cummings and Yombly, somehow the CPP crack, that they couldn't keep it together. Those are the tests of leadership. That's what leadership is. If you can keep a group of people together.
Morris, you are wrong.
Hold on, Mr. Gonglow.
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying that,
You're just making a point.
Yeah, those points, are important.
When the Unity Party under Ambassador Bouaga assumed the leadership, that's when the CPP collapsed. But I disagree with you, Morris.
Mr. It was already cracking when Yombly was there, right?
Yeah.
Because it was Yombly who presided over those meetings where they were calling Cummings was not coming. It was within that same time. So let's just
No, because there was disagreement. And I think I don't want us to get into the CPP debate. It's a different debate. Because the CPP by its design was meant to fail. It was not designed to succeed. Because it was designed in a very corrupt way. I mean, they were actually there to divide public jobs. They were not there to fight for anything. That's why the CPP design was. That's why it failed. That's why it became a colossal failure. Because it was designed primarily to divide jobs. It was not meant to put on show me one program that the CPU drafted for the transformation of Liberia. None. They were just there to divide jobs. That's all what the CPU was about. Was just about replacing WIA to probably commit the same excesses of WIA, not to correct the system. That's why I found it laughable when Morris said, he's looking for somebody that will prosecute WIA in his games, and that person will be Ambassador Bouaga and Jeremiah Kun. Come on, Morris, you got to be sleeping. But let's go to the issue.
Right.
Let's go to the issue here. The issue here is, I disagree with Morris when he said Yombly lost capital. To take a running mate, vice running mate, that person does not even need to be in a political party. You don't. You can take any Liberian. Look at the kind of picture or choreograph, and this is the image Liberians saw for years, several months. Okay, show the one in the church where the 79 lawn chair and church chair in Grand Bassa. Everything along the way was stage managed to show that this was a partnership in the making that was going to be delivered. Okay, for money business, Ambassador Bouaga turned his back on her. For money business, just as he went for money in 2017 with Imaya Nukwe. That's what he did to her. Yombly doesn't have physical catch, but Yombly bet on the ticket would have gotten more money, probably beyond the 3 million Kun promised to give to Bouaga, which he had to deposit $900,000 before the announcement was made. Okay, but that's a side discussion. So Yombly actually was very popular. Everybody knows that the Supreme Court is both a legal forum and a political forum. Anyone who has handled political case before the Supreme Court, they know the political is both it's a partisan court. Even in the United States, the Supreme Court is a partisan court. If you have Republican appointed justices, they interpret the law through ideological landscape. In Liberia, it's not ideology, it's the interest of the president of the day. Under the UP government, the Supreme Court interpreted the law the way the president wanted. In fact, I know of a particular situation where the president actually sat in meeting with a close brother of mine and said, oh, okay, along with the justice minister, this is what I think the Supreme Court should handle. And when that decision came down from the Supreme Court, It was exactly the wording from the court. My friend called me and said, wow.
Thank you.
The president,
Brother Calebo is making some wild allegations here tonight. We need to
Mr. Calebo, let us not go that route, but let's come to the other side of the debate, right? From what we see,
I can call names, Morris, of the program. I can call names to you.
Right. We can't. From what we see, Yombly has turned down the offer to be on the ticket with Mr. Alexander Cummings. That is clear now. We are even hearing report.
It's not evidential.
We are hearing report that she is poised to endorse Waka publicly. So if what we are hearing is true, was it a smart move on the side of Yombly to turn down Cummings, to say was it smart? And what does that even say about Mr. Cummings? And also, what does that say about Yombly? So let me start with Jerome. It's your hometown girl turning down an offer to become a running mate on with Mr. Cummings, who we all is being reported that he's the one with the deep pocket in the election.
Well, I would like to come back to your initial analogy of the marriage. If you found two broken-hearted lovers from different families, let's say there was a divorce or a breakup, this guy broke up with his wife, and this woman broke up with her husband, and just within the gist of time, the guy went to the girl and said, your husband left you, my wife left me, why don't we go ahead and get this thing going? Everybody knows that what that was. So it makes sense for the woman in this case, who we all know from birth, we say women are more mature, they think things through, they process things differently. She, in that sense, would say, you know what, with my reputation on the line, with what folks are saying, were I to do this, people will say that I'm actually desperate. So it doesn't make sense. Secondly, remember, she was in the vanguard in persuading Joseph Walker not to pick Cummings. And if you were a fly on our wall, to have listened to her while she was the primary choice, she should have been the queen. She would have told you why she is and Cummings is not. Turning around and going to Cummings and say, now let me be your partner, didn't make any sense. But that as it may, she has no other choice. When people who are making these decisions when it comes to politics, we all have one common purpose or one common hate, one common enemy, and that's President Weah. We know very well that we have said all of these things about Weah. We have done everything. There is no way, under no circumstance, will Nyobli Kanga go and support Weah. So these calculations were made already. Listen, it's just like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and everybody else. As much as they hate each other behind closed door, there's no way either one of those were going to side with Trump. So that's what's happening there. So yes, Nyobli Kanga looked at her standing. She looked at her reputation. She looked at what the future holds. And siding with Cummings would have been a political suicide.
Is it merely from the Bassa people, or that was her own conviction? Because she's the boss there.
Well, yeah, but listen, this was one of the reasons why she was not even picked, because she doesn't have that Bassa base. Okay, if you listen to those who were the insiders, said it, she cannot be trusted to deliver the Bassa belt, as evidenced by her own election, the election that was just held. The election that was just held put the CPP in their heyday, where they had all the resources behind her, and she won by only 2,000 votes. Okay, so that tells me, or anybody within our war room, that this woman does not have the political capital to deliver when time comes. So all of those things were part of the political calculus. She doesn't speak for the Bassa people. In one county, Grand Bassa County, she barely hung on to be elected, and that was because of the support of the Unity Party, the CPP, the ALPU, the whole 9 yards, and she barely won that. So I think they were right that if we were depending on the Bassa belt, with George Weah being also mother from the Bassa speaking people, it would have been almost impossible. So I think that decision is now turning out to be right.
Mrs. Moba, Yombly turning down, coming with the deepest pocket in the race. And in my hometown, they say if you not do something, don't start it. Because the way she acted after Jeremiah Khan was picked was like it was over. I mean, she was so offended, and so she put up a posture that she was going to do something very, either dramatic or radical, and she stopped short, turning down, going on, accepting the Cummings pick to be the running mate. Maybe you have shown Mr. Buakai or taught him a lesson. What if she even went ahead and they have won? That would be a strong statement against, but she turned it down. What do you make of that?
So everybody has reason for doing things. So I think for her, she makes certain decisions based on what she believes in. I think she decided to support Buakai, whether she was picked or not. She might have been offended from the beginning when they picked Jeremiah Khan, but her support deep down is for Buakai. And I don't think Mr. Cummings coming to her would have changed that anyway. I don't believe what another person said that, if a lady is leaving a relationship and a man is leaving a relationship, it's the best time to come together. It doesn't work like that. You have to process, because you don't want to make the same mistakes. So you have to process. You're not going to be leaving from one frying pan and jumping in the fire. So Yombly couldn't have accepted that proposal of being a running mate, not because she was offended by the pick of Jeremiah Khan, but I think she wanted to process the whole thing. And then from talking to Buakai, she could have still given her support. So what you are hearing that she's going to be making an announcement, I think that is true. And I'm not going to be surprised if she did that, because I think that's where her heart is right now.
And what do you think that make her? Let's say tomorrow she come up and does Buakai. You think that makes her a coward or someone principle-minded?
I think I will consider her
to believe that she was
minded. She, that's not being cowardic. She's being very principle-minded, because everybody would have thought, oh, because Buakai didn't pay her, she's gonna go with Cummings. I mean, people said that. But no, she didn't do that, because if she had done that, people would have said, oh, she was behind Buakai because she wanted to be VP, and now they didn't pick her, so she jumped to another person. So from this decision, it is evident that her support is for the Unity Party and with Ambassador Buakai. So I think I respect her for being principle-minded.
Morris, you think either way she has, lost some steam here? Whether with Buakai, with Cummings, you go back to Buakai to say, "Oh man, she not woman enough." Why? With all the way they treat her. If you go to Cummings, you say, "Oh, look at with everything that went on." Either way, you think she made a good decision here?
Yes, I think she made a very good decision. I told a few friends of mine during the whole selection process when JMB was in the process of selecting between Kuhn and Yombly. I was telling a friend who's in Liberia, I was telling him that if JMB chose Jeremiah Kuhn, Yombly, it will be a test to Yombly's character as well, because she has to decide whether she wants to stay with JMB or to move on because she did not get selected. And the fact that if she does the endorsement on Sunday, if she does the public endorsement on Sunday and stays with JMB, then it's actually a good decision, because then is the truth is politics that timing. You have to measure your time before you act. And if you're not able to figure out that timing sometimes and you follow your emotion, it can cost you significantly. There are people who come into politics with so much energy and they go way up the top, and somehow because they didn't measure the time well, they fall off the cliff and nobody know that they even existed. We've seen some of that in Liberia. So I think for Yombly, the timing at that point wasn't right, but staying with JMB will demonstrate her commitment to the process, not because of herself, but because of what Kelebo called Liberia's interest. I don't know what that means, but that's his characterization. But and beyond that, it also demonstrates that he is maintaining some sort of loyalty. That at some point she's depositing something into this political relationship. That at some point that she has to reap out of it. In politics, you give debt and you put it there. Say, I'm depositing here. Tomorrow I'll get it back. That's what people.
But what they said, right? They say her loyalty was not rewarded by GNB. So what's she doing there again?
So yeah. So I mean, think about other former leaders in Liberia where they had a relationship with people and they didn't look their way till several years later. It happens. Not because of this one thing you get upset, you walk away. You walk away, it might cost you. I mean, just in case.
Right. So Mr. Gonglow, Yombly was in the process of walking away, and she became a darling. She became so attractive to Councillor Gonglow. I learned that Councillor Gonglow was talking to her.
Yep.
Became attractive to Cummings, and she turned all that down and go back to JNB. You think that was a wise decision to turn Cummings down?
Okay, so before I comment on that, I think Morris didn't answer the little piece of your question, because you were saying about part of the question was whether she was still having that weight, political weight, either way. Morris said earlier, if you remember, he said earlier that because she lost the case at the Supreme Court, politically she was weak now. So she didn't show leadership on that. Morris made all those points. So now, because it's apparent that she's going to endorse Morris' side, Morris is not saying, in fact, it's a wild decision now.
No. So you probably you are misunderstanding me. I said.
Hold on, Morris, just jot down your point.
I just want to correct him because he's making an erroneous assumption about the statement I made. I said yes. The blunder she made affected her political capital. If she makes the decision now to endorse, it demonstrates that one, there is loyalty there. Two, that she could reap some benefit in the future. That has nothing to do with political.
But Dennis, let's look at the profile of some of the people who were empathizing Yombly situation. That the fact that the public, first, you're placed on this pedestal. She and Bwaka appearing, raising hand, like they are both already running there, appearing in the church. One seat is long, one seat is short, showing this is presidential seat, this is vice presidential seat. All of that were choreographed to show that this is a marriage that was making. It was only a matter of time the announcement would have been made to the public. And it fell flat when a $3 million offer came in, from Prince Johnson camp, and it fell flat. So a lot of people empathize her condition. Meaning, politically active women in Liberia were, shuttling between Bassel and Monrovia, talking to her. That listen, you have to stay. There must be a female on the opposition ticket because we want the opposition to replace we are. So now, here is what I will say. I think some of the things I was hearing was, for the sake of Liberia, you should stand up to this very poor by-starving decision by Ambassador Ambassador Bwaka, that he opted for money instead of standing up for Liberian interests. So if you look at, for example, the Menisky sanction, and all of you have read it, it's very clear on avoiding to do business with those on the sanction list without mentioning anybody's name. Of course, Kun is doing political business with Prince Johnson. Of course, Bwaka met Prince Johnson publicly, and the picture, Henry Costa was coerced to share the picture on his platform because he has the biggest, he's the only Liberian with the largest social media following in the country. So he was made to share the picture on his social media platform. So all of it shows to me that this is a kind of Liberia worker at his age of 80 or 81, he wants to leave behind Liberia in the hand where Prince Johnson is sitting next to the executive marshal. For me, I think this is a point where Yomli, DeLon, these people should stand up. They don't have to be on anybody's ticket. Right. They don't even have to contest. They should stand and say, you know what? We don't want to go with the direction in which the man who is almost close to being called octogenarian is taking Liberia. We don't want to be part of that. We want history to recall us. We are already elected. We are 9 years job. We don't have to, we're not going to be on the ballot for the next 5 years. We can win on the merits of our own record and stewardship in the Senate, in our respective
constituencies. So let's come to turning down Cummings.
That would be a bad thing. That would be the best decision.
The best decision to turn down the offer from Gonglow and Cummings?
You know what? You don't always have to be on the winning side because you know what? If everybody wanted to be on the winning side, the progressive fought in the 70s. Even those who fought against the TWP, they would have served, they would have joined the TWP government, they would have served. Those who fought against the dual administration, they would have served. When we were at the university, we could have gone those scholarships. We could have done, I could have worked for Charles Taylor, actually. But we all said no. There has to be a moment where you put the country interest first than your own interest. You don't have to be on a winning ticket.
But does Yombly have that history?
Well, I can say, but I can say how much we need to stand up.
You say you cannot say that she has a history of doing that?
Dennis, can I say something, please?
I don't know Yomli. I have not even met Yomli before. I've not even come before 5 years of Yomli in my life.
Mr. John, real quick.
I want to also move on. So 1 minute for you and 1 minute for Morris.
Okay. I wanted to say something about what Mrs. Mulva said when she said she is principled. I think we all been following what happened. We saw, we heard that the former president, Madam Salih, got involved, and the demand from Yombli Kanga was that ability remove all the barriers to turn her political party back to her. She wants to still remain the political leader of the party, and there was a hitch there. Have that negotiation gone her way, we wouldn't be talking about Joseph Walker at this point. So those who are saying she's going back to Joseph Walker because she is principled, it may not be so. It may be that she didn't get what she wanted, and she decided to use the only option she had available.
Thank you, Morris.
That is totally fine. I think politics, they say that interest. So what is individual, collective? That is totally fine. But there are two things that I want to talk about. One is these 3 million allegations that my brother keep restating. Caleb, you're my friend and very good friend, and I read. I'm afraid you may end up into this political propaganda category of people who just get on social media and make this wild allegation about people only because you disagree with them. That is not a good move. I'm just talking to you as a friend to be careful some of the information you put out there because they could have some serious character issues on you. But on the other part of it, when you look at the profile of people that are broadly elected in Liberia, forget about the presidency just for 1 minute. Think about all of the senators and representatives that we have. If you look at those people that are elected, I can say for a fact that 90% of them are not elected on any ideological framework, any kind of ideological reasoning. Usually people are carried by either their emotions, their relationship, their ethnic affiliation, their religious affiliation to elect people in our body politics of Liberia. So when my brother Caleb come with this moral argument of Yombly and DeLon should stand up and say, this thing here, we got to save the country for the interest of the country. We're not doing this thing here. We refuse this thing. You have to look at the body politics and the profile of the people that are elected. And unless you figure those things out and strategically place yourself, you may be one of those former government officials that people will be pointing him behind and say, this person not serious man.
Yeah, thank you. Let us not forget Yombly and Boakai, if you remember these pictures. We are also.
But Dennis Morris says something which I want to respond to for
Yeah, yeah. You keep making this $3 million, 3,000.
So Morris, Morris, interestingly, maybe Morris has forgotten that he's from Nimba, but I'm from Nimba. So you know what? We are very closely intertwined in Nimba. I mean, I'm not sure there's any children in Nimba that I'm not there. And plus, Senator Kwame himself, from most of his surrogate, even long before this, he said to many other people. In fact, there was somebody who called me, and I don't want to talk about it because I did the wrong thing, but I have evidence that I can play a voice to say, look, my man, this thing here is going to happen. The guy, when the old man does not have money, he's paying this money. I recorded this person while talking to me. I put in my phone just right. I don't want to say what I did, but I can tell you that I have evidence on whether true or not.
Can you share your evidence with us?
No, because you are in the media. I don't.
Right. So
if I have voice of Morris Coman, I'm not going to put it out there. I mean,
because you did it illegally, or what?
Unless even if you put a gun to my breast, I'm not going to pull it out there.
All right. Let's look at this other side, right?
So don't push me in there. There is evidence.
Yeah, but Mr. Gonglow, this is
people saying Floyd Toma is the source of the money. In fact, Prophet Key, very good. I will take Prophet Key show a link and give it to you. Prophet Key
are you saying we should trust what Prophet Key says has
exactly.
Right. The first time you said because Henry Costa has the biggest platform and biggest something, so now you are also saying Prophet Key again. We should trust these people because of the platform.
The two issues I mentioned Henry Costa name is not the same as the one I'm talking about. When Boakai and Prince Johnson met, that picture they share, Moadi and other people share, but they don't have the platform Henry Costa has built. So the Senator Henry Costa, he was very reluctant to share it. I know this for a fact. He wanted to verify whether it was a good PR for him to share it. And he said, no, go ahead and share it. We're finna winning. So Henry shared it. And there was
he even Henry being a Boakai surrogate, that was a miscalculation because he himself came up promoting this and it backfired. So let's leave that.
No, because he did that. I mean, I know before he shared that, he's my small brother. We talk.
Yeah.
Before he shared that, he kept saying, no, people forcing me to do this thing. Big brother,
I don't believe that. Because the way he talked about it,
I believe it because we spoke.
He was promoting it, so I don't believe that. But let's leave that.
Okay, let's
move on to. You see, now we also heard that Cummings was talking to Charlene Bromskin. I don't know whether that is true. Some are saying Charlene turned it down. Charlene said, but just on the surface, will Charlene make a good running mate for Mr. Cummings? Morris.
I'm glad that she turned it down. I'm really, really glad that.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, because there are several ways to dig in that team and just break them apart. Two of them don't have the political experience. They've never served in public.
I think Charlene now is in Ganta at the convention, right?
That's okay, but being a running mate changes the debate. It's Charlene Bromskin and Alexander Benedict Cummings on a ticket. It's clearly so many things wrong with that picture. So many things wrong with the picture, and I'm glad that she turned it down.
Name 3 of those things wrong.
I mean, just the fact that both of them don't have the political experience. Cummings have never served in any public office before. She has never served in any public office before. Don't get me wrong. Charlene is a smart young woman. She
That's one. Go to the second, the third.
Yeah, go to the second, the third.
the second thing I will point out is that Liberian people are sensitive to names and orientations and stuff, and so they will be very resistant to having a Cummings and imagine having Cummings / Bromskin ticket. It fundamentally people will start to question origin and stuff like that and make it this whole
They always do that in the politics.
Liberian politics. You know the profile of Liberian politics. I don't have to, to restate it.
Then the third one.
I mean, those two things for me stood out to me, and I said it's a bad move.
Right.
I will not give a third one. I wait for Gayman to say it because he usually, he's very uncensored, so he can
know how to break it down.
Alice, Cummins, Charlene, Cummins, Bromsky. If that is true, would Bromsky, Miss Bromsky, make a good running mate for Mr. Cummins?
Well, I think I tend to agree with Maris. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Maris. First of all, the name factor. I mean, we all know Liberia. Tribalism, we can't rule it out. And so people are going to be misinterpreting the whole union.
Right. Cummins is from Maryland. Bromsky is from Bassa.
Regardless of that, but they still look at names and point out where people, originally come from.
Okay.
So it will be a problem. And
But what you think Cummins is going after? I think we joke about that on the other show, that why is Cummins going after Bwaka Tibley, right? I mean, Cummins has been going after should have his short list long ago, right? So after the Bwaka and Yombly fallout, that's the factor that is driving those kind of decisions, right? Going to Yombly and afterwards going to Charlene. Do you believe those were on his short list originally? And there's nothing wrong capitalizing on somebody's error, but what do you think of Cummins, making his decision to pick, to go after Charlene and also Yombly because of the fallout from Bwaka?
Well, maybe Yombly was on his, plan before maybe she was shortlisted before. We don't know that.
It's kind of impossible, but go ahead.
we are not sure, what the list was, but I think going after Yombly after asking Jeremiah Kuhn was a mistake, because once Jeremiah Kuhn said no, because people do talk. Who knows whether Jeremiah told somebody that Cummins asked him. Maybe Yombly heard something, and she'd be like, "Oh, he asked the person telling him that he's coming to me. No, I'm not gonna do that." And then the next person might hear the same thing, and everybody will start rejecting. So, but right now, I'm not sure whether these people were on his list before. And if they were not there, then I think maybe asking Yombly was not timely.
I'm talking Charlene now. Will Charlene make a good running mate? You said no.
No, I said no.
All right. Mr. Gonglow, Charlene Bromsky. You can unmute yourself, please. Will she make a good running mate for Cummins if that were to happen?
Well, I will say this. I don't want to get into a counterfactual situation here, since I don't have data to.
They say you did that already with the 3 million.
Oh no, the 3 million. There's evidence to that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was in different Nimba chat room written by.
You alone, not from Nimba, man.
So, yeah. So
my wife from Nimba.
Yeah, I know. But here is the thing. Let us not forget, Bromsky was loved by the Bassa people. Yes, he never won election, but he always won Grand Bassa. He never won the general election, but it was Bassa that actually always put him to the level, at the national level, that the number of votes he obtained. My problem with Charlene wouldn't be one, lack of governmental experience, maybe being too young, I should say, probably. But name recognition is also important in politics.
You think she can bring the Bassa vote?
Bassa people do recognize the name Bromsky. And I think she will make a mark in Basel. Because you know what? When Yombly was dealt a death blow by Bouaka for $3 million, a lot of Basudan got angry. So, depending on political communication, Charlene then can tap into that angle. Like, you know what?
But do you believe with Yombly on Bouaka's side and Charlene on Cummins' side, you think the Basel people will go
I think
for
the
Charlene?
messaging for Yombly, if that is true, it's going to be a little tricky. Because you know what? I think when she returned to Buchanan, I think she still lives in Buchanan since she returned. I mean, since that decision, she left Monrovia. She went to Buchanan to solidify and consult. What I've gathered is that so many Basolians kept going to our house. In fact, it was becoming like a political shrine. People going there empathizing with her. It was like something major happened to her.
Right.
So, don't worry. No.
Right. So after Yombly turned him down, going to Charlene,
turned around to tell these angles that were created as a decision, as a result of that, to say, we just gotta go because we want to take Weah. So if taking Weah out of power is the only primary reason you're going to acquiesce to a bad decision that is actually not in the best interest of Liberia, it can be propagandists can put so many hole into that in Basel, and I think she has to tread that carefully how she communicate politically with the people after Sunday event. As I heard, she's endorsing on Sunday.
So let me hear a straightforward answer. Is Charlene going to make a good running mate for Mr. Cummings? Yes or no?
Well, I would say she will bring something on the table from the.
We're talking about winning the election.
Well, I don't think personally, I don't have data on that, but I don't think Cummings will win because Cummings does not have a political base.
But you think he will win Basel because of Charlene?
Yes, he could win Basel because of Charlene.
But let me go to Mr. Gaiman, who hails from Basel. Does Charlene Bromsky make a very good running mate for Mr. Cummings? What does she bring to the table?
It's a terrible ticket. In fact, on point this coming Sunday, we're going to be dissecting the ticket based on Front Page Africa's article here. If it's true that Charlene Bronsky is poised to be picked by Cummings as a running mate, will give him one of the worst tickets that you would ever imagine in Liberia. Politics is optics. Politics is perception. For you to find a Bronsky and a Cummings on the same ticket, two children of the defunct True Party, to bring them together.
Morris, is that what you wanted the man to say?
Listen, if you have, we will call that, we can in Basel, we call it upriver ticket. That is the Congo ticket. And then you have Joseph Boakai, who picked a man from Nimba. So you talk about the unification when President Tubman brought these people on and said, we want to bring the country together. Now we got an up-country ticket. That's Joseph Boakai and Kuhn. And then you have this magnificent ticket in the middle for George Weah, a Taylor and a Weah. That conversation needs to be had, and we'll discuss that on Sunday, but it would be a terrible ticket. As much as I want it to be very frank with you, I think this is fictitious. It's never going to happen. It is a bad optical disaster about to happen. And I think Cummings is smart enough that will not happen.
Alex, let me start. Let me
not sure on Sunday.
Let me start. Yeah, by Sunday we'll know. So now, if what we are hearing is true, that Cummings went to Jeremiah Kuhn first, turned him down, went to Yombly Kanga, turned him down, and perhaps being turned down by Charlene, if that is true, what does that say about Cummings? I mean, just imagine, and I don't want to play the women card here, is you're in a class of beautiful, so I'm not the first, I'm not the second, I'm not the third, and then fourth, even if he comes up with any other running mate, what does that still say about him after you've been turned down by three persons?
Well, I mean, things happen. These people were probably not interested.
And why?
So
Because
we can't say it's on him. People have their own decisions to make. And so if he's being turned down by three people already, he could be, fortunate to get another person that will agree with him. But I'm not going to put it on him or put it on the people that rejected him.
could it be that because two things, right? Either he turns out to be the rejected stone that becomes the cornerstone, or they are running away from him because they know that he can win. Which one?
Well, if we go by Morris's formula, then that could be the reason. The winning ticket is JNB according to him. And so maybe people are gravitating towards that ticket. It could be the reason. We don't know.
Mr. Gonglow, if Cummings is turned down by 2 or 3 persons, what does that say about Mr. Cummings' decision making, or does it say much about the people that are rejecting him? You are muted, sir.
Listen, so here what I would say. I think it's a bit unfair, maybe because sometimes we're not privy to all of the information, all of the discussion back there. We're not even sure whether Cummings just went to MDR, not individual, and wanted for them to
Right.
join.
Jeremiah Kuhn said it on the radio that he was approached by Cummings.
Okay, Kuhn said that he was approached, but I also know other version because there are Kuhn allies like Fonz Wagley. Morris knows Fonz Wagley. Nekage, he knows Nekage. Probably he works at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Who are NDR? Who are Kuhn supporters from the 2020 senatorial race? Who are now with Cummings? I think Fonz Wagley is either the coordinator for Nima and Bond, it's a regional coordinator or something like that. My understanding is after the MDR convention in Ganta, Fonz Wagley was appointed political advisor to Kuhn, and then asked to chair a process to do outreach to different political camps where they can collaborate with. Fonz was sent as an emissary to go. My information, which is also out in Nima chat room, Cummings have promised $3 million to MDR for their development if they came on board. And I think the guys requested for certain amount of money to go do consultation or partisan in Nima because NDR is not in Nima party. It's not anywhere in Liberia. So they've actually...
No, I disagree. I have a family member who was in Sino, who was part of Prince Johnson campaign in 2017.
All right. So,
and if you actually look at number 2 from bombing, there is, more than 10,000, 15,000 people in bombing now.
Forrest, and you know it. Look at
I'm aware of it, but when you say only
Nimba,
Nimba is a location. And
you see, voting for someone is different from being in the party. The party is Nimba based. Where else do you find?
Well, it's Nimba based, but it's also in other counties.
They have any event in any county, all of them.
I mean, JMB has not had event in Sino too. So let's leave that. Let's just use the voters.
It's a formal ruling party, I mean,
yeah.
So here is the thing. So
but let's take Kuhn Road. No dispute.
This was a bad decision or a good decision because we're not privy to the council.
But Mr. Gonglow, let's use what we got, right? Based on the information, Cummings was talking to Youngly, that was public. Kuhn has come out and said Cummings and other people in the ANC came to me and they have not denied it. Let's take down a face value.
You know who spoke first? Prince Johnson spoke on Spoon Network first. Maybe you didn't follow that. I listened to him. He said, Cummings, people went to, not Cummings himself, I believe Musa Ability probably, they went to Kuhn and asked him that they wanted him to do political business with them. And Kuhn said, well, I can't do anything on my own. You have to go to PYJ first if you approve for it before I do anything. So they went to PYJ. That's when PYJ, on Spoon Network, PYJ said what he said about Cummings, which I don't want to repeat on your network.
Right. So let's come to the fact. Let's agree here that Cummings went to these people and they turned him down.
Yeah, you can say yes.
Yeah.
And so what's wrong with that?
No, I'm saying, what does that say about Cummings?
I think it doesn't say. I think it doesn't say anything negative though, because it doesn't. I don't want to
say positive.
Eh?
Let's say the positive. It doesn't say anything negative. Doesn't say anything positive.
I would just say that, because we don't even know how many person even Baka probably went to, or how many person we are went to. We don't know how many person Gonglow is probably talking to. We don't, because some of these things do happen behind the scene. So I don't want to get into the, to just say, oh, because Cummings 1 year, it means everybody just turning it down. I don't want to get into that, because it's not genuine to the critical and fundamental issue that is the catastrophe that is facing Liberia. How many person you talk to and whether they turn you down, it doesn't for example, address the fact that Morris is on a team that is about to has the potential to suppress and dumb the
Morris to I'm telling you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me go to Jerome. Jerome, if what we are hearing that Cummings has been turned down by Jeremiah Cohn, Yumli Kanga, and maybe Charlene Bromskin, what does that say about Mr. Cummings?
Well, if you were in my class, we would say check your deodorant. But this is what it is. If the news is getting around in the school, all the girls, you are good looking, you got clothes, you got money, you got everything. Maybe there's something else going around. News is going around. Maybe you got performance issue. So maybe this is what's happening here. When we are talking about performance, this guy been on the ground since the Ellen Johnson time. We are talking about, let's give it from 2014 or 2015 to 2023. We're talking about almost 10 years. Within that 10 years, he has not established a base. He does not have an identity. Nobody wants to befriend him. These are all performance issues. And if this is the case, who wants to put their reputation that they have earned, that they have worked for over the years, on the line to validate someone to say, I stand for him, or you can use me as an example when I say I trust him? Nobody is willing to say that. So at this point, I think Alexander Cummings needs to examine himself and then re-examine himself. Why is it about me that nobody wants to sit near me? Nobody wants to be my friend. Nobody wants to admit in public that they are either my relative, my cousin. I have no base. So ANC has a serious issue, especially the leadership.
For going this show.
Mr. I find that to be incredible. I have gone from Kev Hassan to now Fagon. That's a demotion. But anyhow, I think Cummings, the ANC needs to say, you know what? He may have the resources. He may have whatever the ruling class wants in him, but he does not have the base. So maybe the CPP will say, like the gentleman is saying here, like Mr. Krumai and Mr. Gonglow saying, for the sake of the nation, if that is the case, let him step aside and nominate somebody likable, because politics is a combination of everything. You have to be someone that can relate to the people, and the people should be able to like you. If they're done, this is what you have. So Cummings need to check his proverbial deodorant and find out why nobody wants to sit close to him.
Mr. Kroman. So, I mean, I think Cummings have engaged more than 4 or 5 people. The original name I heard was Sarah Yanti. I don't know if you guys know her.
Yanti, yes.
She's with the UN, very high profile. She's doing very well. I knew she would not, leave her job and come to Liberia to come and run as a running mate. Besides that, she's, wasn't connected to the country as well. So when people making recommendations, I don't know who's vetting Cummings' running mate, but I don't know what they're looking at, what the profile they're looking at before they start to vet these people. But somehow, Cummings has become, in football, what we used to call, or growing up, what we used to call government boom. Now, he's on the field, he's running around. And when they say you're not on the other team and you're not on this team, you government boom, that means anybody can kick you. And it seemed like that's what's happening to him now. I'm really.
But why?
So in politics, Dennis, politics, this thing where in America where they say politics is local, is extremely important. One of the reasons I believe that Cummings is resisted is because Cummings has a huge diaspora base. And the folks that are supporting Cummings from the diaspora has made Cummings invincible in the politics of Liberia. They made him to walk on eggshell. So they're making him to feel like he is, excuse me, like he is the savior of the country. So the people that are on the ground sees that as an affront to say, well, you cannot come and take the helm of leadership in this country if you're not able to connect with all of us here and make yourself feel a part of us. But if you put up this elite posture where you think that you are above everybody else, then all of us will resist you. And that is what that culture now is what has translated to Cummings now running around struggling to find somebody to run with him. And those that are actually favoring him are only there because of the personal interest that they get. To be honest with you, the benefit they get in personally. That's why they are there.
I want to bring in our callers here, but let me throw this in, and I think Mr. Gonglow will like this. And for this one, I will start with Morris on this one. So everybody, I think it is unanimous. Almost every political party you speak with, you will hear people talk good about Councillor Tiawan say Gonglow. They will say, well, he's good, he's a right guy, but either to say, well, this is his first time, or he doesn't have money, or he doesn't have something, right? So there's a consensus. Unfortunately, he's not on Buakai's. He was not on Buakai's short list. Neither was he on Cummings' short list. Why is that? And what does that say about Tiawan Gonglow, or what does it say about those who didn't even look his way? Morris, you been in politics. You stay with United Party, so you know this
you can't say for a fact that he was not on those people's short list.
We based on what we're hearing, we didn't hear that.
Well,
we talked to him.
Or you hear from me. So
yeah, I think Tiawan is a really a good candidate for the presidency, no doubt about it.
Right, but we've not heard that Buakai was talking to him or Cummings was talking to him.
So I'm not going to get into the weeds of that. Let's.
Why we've been in the weeds already? Why you want?
Yeah. So whether I don't want to be capable to make some assumptions that I cannot prove, but I know for a fact that there was some sort of conversation happening. Whether it materialized or not, I'm not going to get into the weeds of that because I don't.
The conversation from where? Tell us.
I'm unable to provide any kind of evidence to the conversation of what I'm saying. So I'm not going to get into it. But the point I'm trying to make here, Dennis, is that in politics, I said it earlier, timing is very, very important. I think, Councillor Gonglow will be a force to reckon with in 2029. He will be a serious force. There are people that we can certainly say, because 2029 will be sort of like a level playing field. There will be new actors coming onto the stage, but there are people who have historical connections to the ordinary Liberian people who will not have the option of Wia and Buakai anymore because of the over polarizing stature over the politics of today. Those people would have left the scene. So now it will be, an open space for someone like, Councillor Gonglow, someone like, Dr. Moniba, and those young, enterprising people to actually, raise the debate about this presidency. But for 2023, I thought the timing was wrong for Councillor Gonglow.
Mrs. Mova, some will say, well, these people, they are so corrupt. Councillor Gonglow is against corruption. That's why they don't want to bring him closer. Some are saying, well, he doesn't have a base. Nimba, Prince Johnson is there. He and Prince Johnson are always fighting. So we can if you want NIBA, you go through Prince Johnson and not Councillor Gonglow. So of all the noise we hear, we're hearing names and other people have been referring to him. I listened to one of those surrogates of Boakai, Henry Costa, saying it either be me, it either be Yombly or Councillor Gonglow. But so far, we didn't hear of any serious discussion. Is it because they are afraid of him, or because they believe that he doesn't have anything to offer them to win?
Well, in my belief, most people in Liberia, they vote based on what they think the person has, which is money. And Tiawan Gonglow does not have money. Secondly, everybody cried that corruption is the disease that is keeping our country backwards. But yet people love corrupt people. And so if you want to be strict with everything, no, they don't like that. Because they think when you get there, Liberian English, their chopping will stop. And that's why I had an experience. I work with somebody when I work at Telecom, my boss. Everybody, thought that he was so straight. But instead of, being happy that he was about to be the managing director, no, a lot of people were not happy. Not that he didn't know how to do the job, but they felt that if he were there, they were not going to be doing what they were doing. Some people were, illegally sending faxes, getting money on the side. All these things, they felt that they were going to stop. And so the fact that Liberia is, so corrupt, and anybody who tries to stop the corruption, there will be resistance. And so I think
are you suggesting Boakai and Cummings are running away from Gonglow because they are corrupt and we don't want Gonglow to put sand in their gallery?
Not necessarily that they are corrupt, but they look at what majority of the people will like. They are making decisions based on what majority likes. And as I said before, they don't care, where you got your money or how you got your money. They want to know the person has money. And then they will fall for that. And so VP Boakai, as an individual, might like Gonglow to be his running mate, but other people around him might not like the idea because they think what he's bringing to the table will affect them directly or indirectly.
Mr. Gonglow, I will take you last. Let me go to Jerome.
Yes. Gonglow, everybody have said this. Everybody knows this. Gonglow is one of the most qualified people, honest person, a legal mind that I think can win the election, can win the presidency of Liberia, given the opportunity and the organizational structure. I heard some folks were saying that putting the structure together, he started late. Some folks who are in the league now began this thing in 2005. That's 20 years ahead of who just started maybe 14 months ago. So yes, he's doing the things that every political leader should be doing. Every political organization is to build a base and build a relationship with the folks. You see him in every area of the country, meeting the folks, talking to the folks, building the relationship. That's what it's going to take. So like Mr. Kruman said, he is the next George Weah, I can tell you.
Right. Why did I pick him now, Boakai or Cummings?
But like we say, in anything, in politics, we're not. Let's just leave this between Boakai and President Weah. These are two folks that have built their bases from, let's say, years back. Everybody else who are just coming, they are Johnny just come. But the way his approach to the Liberian politics is the ideal way to do it. So I am saying it just happened that he's caught between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, and in between there, it's almost impossible to find a ground. You cannot win in this country being an independent. So in that way, you have to build from scratch, and that's what Mr. Gonglow is doing. So I agree with Krumah. Gonglow is a force to reckon with, but not this time around.
Mr. Gonglow, with every question I've asked, I want to also throw that even the progressive, right now, I think you have the Northern Progressive supporting Boakai and the Southeastern Progressive supporting Gonglow, if I will categorize it that way for the lack of a better word. Why these leading candidates not talking to Gonglow?
Well, yeah, first, let me clarify what Maurice said. There was no conversation between Ambassador Boakai and Councillor Gonglow, just for the record. There was none. So if somebody told you that, like sedition said, that must be a lie from the belly of the devil. It never happened. If you listen to Councillor Gonglow on Spoon Network today, he actually did appear today. That question was asked. The very question Dennis asked, somebody asked, it was Stanton with a spoon.
Wow. Somebody gets sense like me?
He said, why Cummings and Boakai didn't talk to you? People talking about opposition unity. Why they didn't talk to you? And in his explanation, in fact, the first said, did they talk to you? He said no. He said they didn't. Then they followed a question, and he said, and I will try to paraphrase what his response. He said you have to reflect on the history or my history. I work in a government where Ambassador Boakai also served in the same government for 12 years. I had disagreement and I left the government. He did not have. He remained in that government. And the records of that government is open both for Liberians to look into it. So, and there are other sources to say he was one of those who were angered by my departure in the very unceremonious manner with a press conference, 12-page press statement at the Kerry Street Atai Center. They felt he took the government to Guata. So, and of course, the other, I will credit myself as one of those who probably had a sidebar discussion with one or two persons closer to Boakai. And my information was, Boakai has said to somebody, oh, that young man is too radical for my comfort.
Okay.
So I don't want to use this stage to diverge a lot of stuff that we talk and we hear in the background. Okay, I don't want to diverge those things, but there were a lot that was discussed in the background. But it was clear that Henry Costa said on his show once that there's a reason why nobody will want to talk to Gonglow, because everybody wants a VP that they can say, hey, go over there, or just do it. That's what I said. That's not Gonglow. Gonglow is a man, he's a free thinker. He's so independent-minded that money can move him, wealth can move him, so he's able to even walk away from wealth if that violates his principle. So nobody wants him, So there are a lot that was said to me by different comrades, And
what we get the Boakai part. What's about Cummings?
Yeah. Cummings, they were not talking to him directly. I believe, some, not Cummings himself, some Cummings supporters, which was not like an organized approach. Maybe somebody will call and say, my man, why your brother and Cummings can just work together? I remember somebody called me that maybe a month ago, and I said, look, let me tell you, I'm done work for Councillor Gonglow campaign thing. Yes, I'm his brother. I'm not an official LPP. I'm not in his different auxiliary group. I'm not even a member of any of the group. I'm just supporting in different ways, but I'm not in any leadership structure. So don't talk to me. If you want to talk to him, talk to LPP chairman, talk to LPP executive committee, talk to some of the auxiliary group leadership, and they can take your message. But here is what I will say to you. Cummings would be a very good vice running mate to Gonglow, and I think that would be a stepping stone for him. The whole argument, Dennis, about Gonglow being maybe new on the block, it doesn't, the history of Councillor Gonglow in Liberia does not even support that. This is a young man at the age of 21 in 1978. He was arrested and jailed by the government of Liberia, not an individual, for standing up for what he believes in. He and a group of student activists from the University of Liberia were arrested. And you look at what he's done successfully with his life under Taylor regime. He like to call himself one man peacekeeping army. He was the go-between, the level between government excess use of power to suppress press freedom and fighting for the independence of the press. Councillor Gonglow took upon himself that as long as any Liberian constitutional rights were violated, I will provide pro bono service for them. The likes of Moluba Modu, Akara's Gray, let's go on all the CDC started today.
Right.
But there's a classic case in point. I'll come to that. I need to answer this question.
Yeah, please.
Amra Kwane was subpoenaed by the Senate. Not, I don't want, maybe subpoena is not the right thing. They were trying to use contempt power. They were trying to hold in contempt. Councillor Gonglow went on Truth FM. He voluntarily provided his services to Amra Kwane. He said, look, this is a constitutional matter. The legislature, the contempt power, there is an intent and use of that contempt power. He was prepared to take the issue to the Supreme Court. And I was at the Capitol in that discussion. And I don't want to go into the detail who was the old man that said, oh, we don't want confusion. The old man who said this agreement on constitutional and legal matter amount to confusion is making false. So Amra must just write a letter apology to the Senate and they can work this thing beyond. And he argued that that's not will build the country. Let the Supreme Court interpret whether this is the right use of the contempt power. And that was never done. So this is a man who has been all through the history. You know how many journalists have been arrested? And he has, he has money. And I will end on this, Dennis, please. I will end on this. He has money. He told me, you talk a story. Even though the story is all over, even the United States and even in Liberia, he went to, I think, Jackingtown in one of the southeastern counties, either Sando or Grand Jackingtown, or I'm not calling the name right. He said he met an old man. In the town, he was talking to the people in the village. And they said, no one has come here to talk about leadership. Not even representative candidate, not even senatorial candidate, let alone presidential candidate. You are the first. And the old man came and said, do you know me? He said, I don't know. He said, my wife, Catherine Doe, we have a mission in the Ghannasville area. When my sister, rather, when her husband died, people tried to take the property from her because she's not let her. People say, you go to Councillor Gonglow. We came to your law firm. You provided pro bono service. Today, that mission in Ghannasville, my sister and her children got access to that. So this village will vote for you. You don't have to come back. You pay your due. Other politicians will come here with money, will eat it. But you don't have to give money because of what you did. He has done so much social investment. For me, that's money.
Thank you, Mr. Gonglow. We got I know you're getting the campaign spirit now.
I'm not giving the workout to be all.
No, man.
Dennis, can I say something quick before we move on?
Okay, let me announce that if anyone wants to join the conversation, the number is 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. We have people on the line already. So quickly, Mr. Kroman.
Yeah, just 30 seconds. I think, Councillor Gonglow is a fine species. There's no doubt about it. There's no argument about it. But Councillor Gonglow is a Liberian, Kelebo. He's a Liberian. He belongs to an ethnic group. He belongs to a county. He belongs to, a religious faith. So I would hate to paint him as a saint. That's the same reason why Cummings is struggling today. if I had,
I've not picked any
no,
assistance.
Caleb, just give me just 30 seconds. The point I'm making here is that there are some national conversations in our country where Councillor Gonglow also has not taken a position on. He served in public office. There are people that work with Councillor Gonglow who will give a counter narrative to what you're providing. So let's just be mindful of how we project our candidates. Because like I said, I love Councillor Gonglow. You and I know, where I stand when it comes to Tiawan Gonglow. You know where I stand.
I
But
knew that on
is
the breaking news today.
okay.
All right, let me bring on my first caller here to join the conversation. We have so much to talk
You are
about.
breaking the news to him first.
Mr. Elvis Morris. And by the way, let me announce that Mr. Morris is watching us on the big screen. And we encourage you, if you are watching us on the big screen, please share that with us so that we can show it. Go ahead, Mr. Morris, and here is Mr. Morris watching the show on the big screen.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ja, and such a good afternoon to your panelists. Mr. Ja, I want to use this little thing, a little analogy here. Since you're a Bible man, you're a church man, Remember in the Bible when you saw the invisible hand right there on the wall. For coming, the invisible hand is right there on the wall right now, 2023, now it's time, wait for 2029. And I think all the people that who turning it down, I think when they sleep, maybe they can dream the same dream and see that invisible hand right into them. So they're staying away from Cummings because they know he can't win. At least in 2023, it's not his time. But secondly, let me
no. Before you go that, because I don't want, as pastor, I don't want this to go. The guy who the hand was right on the wall because he used to take the communion cup and go be drinking beer inside. So he was doing bad things. Cummings not doing that.
Oh boy, I guess you see that analogy.
All right. Go ahead.
They're looking for divine intervention to see what will happen. So if any scene that that's going to happen for them, so they're staying away. But secondly, let me say this. The people who support communism in the United States, we've seen on other platforms where when people call and express their honest opinion, they say the people are being paid. The people are not, they're not thinking, they're not, in the right mind, they're not suffering business. Like Morris said, and I must give it to Morris. Morris is admitting to us today that Joseph Boyka is a corrupt man. And I must agree with him. In Liberian politics, you have to be corrupt. You have to do backdoor dealings. You have to take, the envelopes. You have to sell position in your political party. Everybody know that's the order of the day. So when Morris come in and talk about the reason, somebody like Gonglow is not gaining traction is because people pin him as a saint, it's only telling you that, just suppose that with Boyka, who has a lot of traction, it's obvious because he's not a saint. He's willing to do the dirty, dealings. He's willing to compromise his integrity to work with people who are unscrupulous. So I think that the contrast is clear. Somebody like Gonglow will have an uphill battle, not because he's not popular, but because he's integrous. So thereby, a lot of people will not gravitate towards him because as a society in Liberia, we are corrupt. And we like wheeling and dealing in the background. And people like Gonglow who don't want to do it will always be at a disadvantage. And the thing will come is the last thing will come is, let me say, Mr. Jack, when a Bassa man from Grand Bassa County pick a Bassa man from Monrovia to be his running mate, how will we look at it? So when we're talking about Congo TK, people say, oh, you're trying to be tribalistic, but we all know what the implication would be if it was a quote-unquote Bassa man picking another Bassa man from a different part of the country to be his running mate. It won't look right. So coming to people that he got surrounding him who think they're so sophisticated, they're coming from America with American ideas, it won't translate in Liberia. We're seeing that. You need to re-strategize for 2029 for real, bona fide Liberians who are willing to deal in Liberian politics. No Mr. Clean Hands. Do it a dirty way. When you get there, you can wash your clothes. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. We don't want dirty people getting there before washing their hands. Please wash your hands, then you can enjoy the meal. Morris, 267 area code. Go ahead, you're live.
Yeah, thank you, Ja. This is Morris from Pennsylvania. Thank you guys for the brilliant analysis from all of you guys. But you see, I'm a very good listener. I got a question for Mr. I think Gonglow, right? Yeah, Mr. Gonglow. Mr. Gonglow, you on the platform, you're pushing the argument of getting rid of Mr. Weir. When you have Mr. Gaydman on the show that's saying that the next job will be Mr. Gonglow. The fact that you did not say anything to that, that you're telling us that when Mr. Gonglow comes, he will pay for the 7 houses, he will travel all around, he will not speak to the people. I think I just want to bring that to your attention. Whether you agree with Mr. Gaydman that Mr. Gonglow will be the next job we are.
More popularity.
Thank you, Mr. John.
Thank you.
That's a good one. I like that.
Let me call Mr. Aliyu Kamara. Mr. Aliyu Samba Kamara is a born-again Buckeye supporter. Mr. Aliyu, you are live.
That's my comrade.
Yeah, Dennis, thank you for having me. Before I continue, let me take care of something. I know for some reason, and it's politically expedient, that you have considered Joseph Oga to be your brother's arch rival, unfortunately. And I see that you are directing your ammo directly at Joe Buckeye. Let me tell you something. We know stuff. We know why your brother claimed that he resigned from the Unity Party-led government. We know the facts surrounding that. We do know that he did not officially resign. We know what happened. We are trying our hardest. Let me tell you, the Unity Party do listen to you, but they know that your opinion has no weight. It has no effect on the voting population. That's why people ignore you. We are looking forward to the day that people within the Taiwan Gonglow campaign will come out to be aggressive at Joseph Brother like you do. So you have a pass because you're not that significant in the eyes of the campaign in Liberia. That's why nobody responds. But we know stuff.
Come on.
Let us be clear here. At no time did Mr. Crown promise to give Joseph Buckeye $3 million. If that was the case, the Joseph Buckeye issue was to collect money, by this time he wouldn't be in the race. Do you know how many times the Arizona Commons, along with international partners, called Joseph Buckeye to Ghana to give him millions? He rejected everything. Did you know that Al-Hassan Ouattara offered Joseph Buckeye hundreds of thousands during the 2017 election because of Mrs. Salih or whatever she was doing? He rejected everything. Joseph Buckeye is a principled man. For you to be here trying to denigrate a great man, you know, we'll pretend to not whatchamacall you. But let me just say this, Dennis.
Yeah, please.
I know Joseph Buckeye contacted Taiwan on the basis of running. You know, the airways, Joseph Buckeye also followed the airways. He listened to all of this. Taiwan has said on numerous occasions that he can only have Joseph Buckeye as his advisor. And Joseph Buckeye, knowing where Taiwan stands, why engage him? So he wasn't engaged. It wasn't that he was ignored. He wasn't engaged by Joseph Buckeye, though Mr. Gonglow's name was brought to Joseph Buckeye, but Joseph Buckeye never engaged him. I've been following. It's a wonderful show. I think Morris is trying to plug in some sense here, but for some reason, Mr. Gonglow is not answering the questions, and he thinks that the powerful, all-powerful, honorable Joseph Buckeye is his mate. He got it wrong. But thank you for having me.
Thank you. Let me take a wireless caller here.
You have asked him to say what he meant by saying he knows some stuff.
216 area code. That Aliyu, your name and where you calling from?
My name is Samuel Wewole, calling from Cleveland, Ohio.
Samuel Wewole. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Gonglow is to accuse people of giving someone money without proof. And his brother running a good campaign, a very good man, played a good game. Be like your brother. And the next person is Senator Lawrence I think she will be the next vice president in 3 years' time. When the former vice president retire, she's going to be the next vice president. And what making Mr. Corbyn up is Helen Johnson Sirleaf. And also we from the United States. When I go to Liberia, my brothers and relatives, even friends say, "Oh, you come to take our job." That same thing is following Mr. Corbyn. He have to tell the people in his diaspora to stay away so he can vote a local campaign instead of following Helen, former President Helen Johnson Sirleaf. Because she gave us George Weah, and we've seen the result of George Weah. That's all I have to say. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you so much. Let me take the last caller here. Trocon, go ahead. You're live.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, panelists. I enjoy the show all the time. I follow it carefully. First thing I want to say, one time I saw a YouTube video where Mo Abraham, some rich millionaire, African millionaire who had the Abraham Award.
Mo Ibrahim, yeah.
At the top. Yeah. And on that show, they had Danko, the Nigerian billionaire, and they were discussing about African leadership. And he made a comment, Mo made a comment, he said, we have African leaders that are in their 90s and still running for re-election. And they ask the young people, say, I can create a future for you. And then he joked and said, what future are you going to create for the young people? The one that you're going to get, the one that you will soon be taken to your grave in the casket? And everyone busted a laugh. I'm just paraphrasing this because when people talk about Joseph Boyka, they just have to portray him like he's a clean man, he's honest, he's a rescue, he's gonna rescue Liberia, he has this plan, I'm gonna make Liberia great. But let's look at some of his history though. We know that he got fired twice. And I know when you get fired at your workplace, you're either not doing the right thing, either you're not performing well, or you are maybe you broke a law and you got fired for that. But in the case of Joseph Boyka, all we heard was he got fired for corruption. He got fired for net appropriation of funds.
You say that's what you heard? You said that's what you heard, or is there any evidence that he got fired for corruption?
Yeah, that's what we've been hearing, that he got fired by the late Samuel Doe and someone before.
Don't believe everything you hear.
ELDC. Let's move on.
I didn't get what your question
No, I said don't believe everything you hear. Investigate yourself.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But equally so, we know that he got fired. That's the fact.
Myself, I got fired from my job before.
Yeah, of course. Everyone gets fired at times, but he got fired for some level of performance and corruption. That's why we've been hearing. So let me shout it out. I know other people want to come on.
Yes,
I don't want to hold up your line for so long. I am a little bit disappointed tonight, though. All the time we Liberians, we say we want our country to come together. We want to do away with a concord-native situation. But all the time we kind of treat that thing right into our politics when there is always time for election. I don't think it's healthy for our society. I'm kind of disappointed with your panelists tonight. They played a coded word. Coded the one where
the panelists you
country with all racism. You're playing the native and Congo's car right in the presence of everybody when we listen to you. You should be the one to discourage that kind of conversation in the first place. Economy chose Charlene to be his VP. Charlene's a Liberian. She has a right. If that's what we believe can help him to win, fine. But if unfortunately you guys want to play this kind of Congo native card where we all trying to discover it, I'm a native man and I really hate that card when you didn't play. I don't like listening to people when they play that card. My name is Troko Bayou. No Congo in it. Pure native. And I sick of my people playing people cards. I'll be honest. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, Troko. Oliver, please 30 minutes. You will be the last caller. Oliver.
You said 30 minutes? Or
30 seconds, please. Hello? The last caller.
Thank you so much for having me listen to the story. But listen, I will try to, from my opinion, I think we have to start looking somewhere else, either from Gonglow or Dr. Monobas, because from time immemorial for the past 4 years, we've been depending on this group against a politician. And all the hope that we had, we have been let down. And because of that, I am not feeling. But if we still want to go that same route, I think just we are going to take this the second term. That's my opinion. And thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for Mr. Gilman. You're doing a good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Why are you laughing when somebody commend Gilman?
I mean, if the guy seemed to present himself as a neutral individual, saying how, if we don't do that 1 year, then it's likely that we have to take the race, come back and compliment Mr. Gilman. You did a good job. What does that say?
They say if a monkey gave you banana, just imagine how many you got in your stomach.
Exactly. Exactly.
Dr. Abdullah Dugwe is also watching on the big screen, and he's sharing with us. Write down before you comment. Tomorrow at 7 p.m., the Liberia History Channel will be your way with McCarthyism and the Todman administration. You know, McCarthyism here, where they used to, every time soon you talk, they say you're socialist. Well, Todman, there was some form of that level. Another form of McCarthyism in Liberia under President Todman. We'll learn about that this Saturday, that's tomorrow, on the Liberia History Channel. Then on Sunday, Discovering Your Strength, Self-Love, and Your Path to Recovery on A New Day, presented by Priscilla Yanato. Guest, Shalisa Wall, she's the author of It's Time to Go, How to Walk Away from an Abusive how to leave an abusive relationship. You don't want to miss that. Also want to remind you that every Tuesday at 7 p.m. we have Abby Tyler's Healthy Living. That's our health show right here on Focus on Liberia. Every Friday at 6, we have the Literary Hour with Professor K. Moses Namwe and the scholar Jackie Syed. They talk all literature. You don't want to miss it. Join us on Focus on Liberia. We educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. There is nowhere else you find variety of shows. What we have, the rich content that is on Focus on Liberia, and you can take that to the bank. Well, Mr. Gaiman, you are the one being commended here, so I'll keep you for last. Let me start with Alice. Your response to our callers, you can at least a minute.
Well, I want to respond to the caller that talked about panelists discussing country conquer stuff. Well, we are not discussing that. We are not the ones that are bringing it up. What we're trying to do is highlight what people do back home. And so it's a form of educating, but it's not that we are preaching that aspect of the Liberian politics. No matter what you do, that's why most people vote in Liberia based on tribes. It's not secret. Although it is wrong, but we have to say it. And what we're saying tonight is commies choosing brown skin, people will think X, Y, Z. It does not mean we are preaching that. I just thought to make a correction.
Thank you. Mr. Gaiman.
Yeah, are we closing or you just want
No, anything that you heard from the callers, one of them said you're doing a good job. I don't know if you believe that.
Well, nobody have to tell me. I know that I'm the best panelist. And when I'm talking, I talk fast, even though people may not want to believe it, like my brother here. When I said Ellen Johnson said her mistake was that she brought in a lot of transitory employees. These are not my words. These are words that these people use. It's the fact she said that. So here we are when we want to remind the crew again tomorrow at 4 o'clock on point. We are going to be dissecting exactly what this young man talking about. You are not going to scare us into not discussing our makeup. We have country people, we got Congo people, we got Mano people, we got Bassa people. It is our makeup, and our politics cuts that way. We have to discuss it. You cannot scare us in not discussing these issues. Like in this country, they don't want you to talk about black and white issues. They don't want you to talk about white people shooting black folks. They don't want you to talk about arming people. All of these things are discussions that need to be had. Until we can have the discussion, we're fooling ourselves. And I'm glad that Focus on Liberia shed lights on this where everybody can have their say so without fear or favor.
Mr. Gonglow, you want to respond 1 minute to our callers?
Yes. There are a few things I'd like to say. There is a guy who called and said when Gilman made comparison, not even a comparison, when he said, oh, Gonglow will be the next we are, but in 2029. And I didn't make comments. Hey, Gonglow is never going to be in terms of we are. I don't think Gilman was talking about we are performance in office, because Gonglow is a straight adherence to the rule of law. He's a respecter of the law. President Weah is not. Weah violates the law at will. Weah appointment does not reflect what the constitutional mandate is. The Constitution says appointments of cabinet minister must be geographically balanced. Weah appointments are not geographically balanced. So there's nothing you can compare Weah and Gonglow, So I didn't comment on that because
the Constitution said that
one of the colors.
No, you said the Constitution said appointment should be geographically balanced.
Yeah. Now the government. I will give you the reference.
Right.
Even beyond the Constitution, the executive law of 1974.
Right. I mean,
on that.
I eat the Constitution a while, but I try to.
Yeah. I will give you the representation of that. But even the executive law is very clear on that of 1974. But here is one comment I'd like to make. This UP caller, I think he has appeared on the show before, called from Philly, and try to do propaganda here to say, oh no, why Gonglow resigned from government? He didn't just leave or something else. I was challenging him to say what is it. He said I'm nothing, so UP is not going to resign. I mean, I'm not even saying I'm anything. I'm a panelist, I'm an analyst on FOL. When I sit here, I don't speak for Councillor Gonglow campaign because I'm not an official there. When I sit here, I present the different issues that are here and what I believe is important for our listener to hear. That's what I talk about. So I'm not talking here for Gonglow campaign. If you understand it that way, that's unfortunate. So I will challenge this UP partisan from Philadelphia. Councillor Gonglow is in fact in Philadelphia tonight, and he's going to be at 72, I think 02 tomorrow. Come there, challenge him, say Gonglow, you're going to run. Councillor Gonglow has been on probably, he has appeared on radio station more than any presidential.
We'll be hosting him soon.
I'm giving him a chance to challenge him on his record. He's not a saint. He's a mortal human being. He has his own mistakes. He has made mistakes. He has refused to do some things. But there are few things that he won't do. He will not, if he's convinced that something is wrong, he's not going to do it, even if it meant taking his life. This is the guy in 1984, August 22nd, 1984. He was teaching assistant at the university. He came down from a riot building and he saw the soldier ripping two girls with gums. And he walked in and said, stop, it's wrong. And the guys nearly killed him. In fact, if you look on Councillor Gonglow bike, the bend now they use to juke him, to push him away is there. he taught raping these university students. That was when they invaded the university. He challenged, armless, he challenged a soldier to tell them what raping the girls were wrong. And he never lost his life. He was in JFK for weeks. They have to take him to fire. So he stand up for what he believes in, even at the perils of his life.
Thank you.
Morris.
Yeah, I think, my man Kelebo needs to take a position. You say, yeah, I'm not a Councillor Gonglow person, but it seems like you also almost speaking as though you are the official spokesperson for the Gonglow team. So you play, double hands at the same time. But I want to speak to two of the callers. One, Elvis made it seem that because I said Councillor Gonglow is not this, it means that Joseph Boakai is the opposite. Who says that everything has to be black, either black or white? Why can't there be a gray shade? Why can't there be, other colors? When you start to think in two dimensions where there is either this or that, then you are limiting your ability to look at all of the different options that are there. I thought that was a very flimsy assumption that he made about my position because I said, one thing about Councillor Gonglow, which means that I admit that Joseph Boakai was corrupt. It's unfortunate that he thought that way. On the issue of the Congo native thing, I think, Mr. Gamer and my sister Alice have spoken about it. And I think I just wanted to contribute a little bit to it because it's also important. And I want to say thank you to Dennis because you're giving us the platform to talk about this thing. In our body politics, there's no way we can talk about elections in Liberia if we don't align ethnic and religious dimensions to it. Whether we disagree or agree, I can be whoever I am right now. If I go to Liberia and say I want to run for public office, the senator of Moserado County, 9 out of 10 times, I may not even get 1,000 votes because I'm a Madingo man and I'm a Muslim. That is just the fact of it. We shouldn't, unless we actually have
more Muslim. That's not true. There are more Muslim in Moserado.
No,
comparatively to Christians.
No,
There are more
We can debate
He cannot mislead. It will be based on his own record. Maningo man has been elected representative in Moserado, in Morovia.
All right, so let me finish my thought. We're gonna have that conversation. So the point I'm making here is that in our body politics, and it's not just Liberia. I mean, I've done this study on other countries on the African continent. Whether you go to Ghana, Nigeria, all across different countries, ordinary voters usually vote based on ethnicity and based on religion. That's one reason why in some countries like Ghana and Nigeria, there's always a Muslim Christian candidate because that dimension has played in the politics for so long. So when you come to Liberia and say, when we have this conversation, it means that we are tribalistic. It's rather unfortunate. The fact is we have to acknowledge it, and then maybe we start to work to fix it. Because one of the things that we have not done since the Civil War is to talk about these things. There are candidates who run in Liberia and say, I'm running on a Christian principle. And that's because you join sentiment of a religion into the politics of the country. And fewer people will actually stand up and say, no, this is not good for our country. We need to actually look at the country from a broader sense of nationalism. Because when you do that, you isolate a whole different group of people. There are people who will run on whatever, Crown, I'm a Gio man, I'm a Madingo man, and I'm running to represent Gio, Mana, or Crown or Bassa people. And those people do win elections in Liberia. It's the fact of it. That's the profile of the country.
Aren't we selecting vice presidential candidate based on tribes
on the numbers? On numbers, that's right. That's what our number is. Yep.
Right. Quite recently, I wrote that we're talking from both sides of our mouth, right? So you want a vice president, you want Pele belt, Bassa belt, your Nimba vote, and all that. Then we turn around. When we have the Nimba vote now, and the Nimba person present a list, employ this number of Nimba people, and then we say, oh, it's tribalism.
Yeah.
But when we were running for president, that's what we said. We said we wanted to win Bassa.
Yep.
So
Morris, I don't see how strong you feel about your closing comment here. Because if you feel strongly that's an agenda that should be pushed into the national discourse, then go support ACO candidate and
I can't support ACO because Mamadingo man. Why would I do that?
No, go there and then push it so they become part of the national discourse.
But then it'll be a counter to the
you are telling him to
it'll be a counter to that debate. Why would I do that?
You are telling him.
Are you even listening to the point that I'm making here, Calabo?
I'm listening.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Many times.
The night is fast spent.
Yeah.
I want to thank all of you for coming. And Sam Wallow say you are promoting. He's promoting his brother while saying he's not on his campaign team. Zeze say, do you have the proof that JMB got fired? So a lot of things, people asking for proof. Abi say, Morris say we are voting for a politician, not a saint.
I don't know what that means.
It means Gonglow is a politician, and he
has.
No,
you say you're talking about Boaka. That's what Abi means.
Michael Buse comments that government boom.
No, a government has not served in government. We call Winston Thomas government boom that time because he been in government for long.
No, government boom.
This analogy of government boom means he's on
no. Some people who are still low in government who call them government boom.
Yeah, but this other analogy about government boom.
25 years experience.
He's a free agent.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is Gonglow. Calabo played tennis. He didn't play football.
Yeah, he played football.
No, tennis. Forget it. I asked my Simiris classmate. I played on Simiris soccer team. I played soccer in high school.
You're a versatile player, huh?
You played number 2 or number what?
What when you play?
You don't appear to me like striker.
No. Actually, I used to play both wing, 8 or 10. Sometimes depending on
I play Ottawa football, Calabo infield after a while. Yeah, I remember.
All right, but thank you all so much for the night. Let's use 30 seconds to get your closing, but just 30 seconds because we don't want to go beyond 2:30. Let me start with Mr. Gaiman.
Yes, tomorrow, Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern time, we are going to be dissecting the tickets as it's supposed to be according to Front Page Africa, Charlene Bronsky and Cummings.
We will know by Sunday.
We'll know by Sunday, that's correct.
Yeah,
but Mr. John, thank you very much for the show. Thank you for the opportunity to get on here. My brother Kroma, as always, the gentleman from Brandeis and I, Rutgers and Brandeis, we always had our competition going, so it's all right. Mr. Gonglow, I'm a fan of your brother. He's an excellent human being. Obviously, Mrs. Wilson, Mulbach, beautiful, beautiful lady. Argument is great. I just want to say I'm grateful for being on the show with you all, and that President Weah is going to be the next president for the Republic of Liberia.
Thank you. Mr. Gonglow.
Yes, Dennis, this has been a great show, and I'm happy to reconnect with Morris for a while. I know I saw a missed call from you or a text. I didn't respond. Yep. I knew that's probably when you're on your way to Boaka. You wanted to let me know. But so that's beside the point. But I think tonight has been a good discussion. Here, what I would say, I think we need to reflect on, for once, where we've come so far. In the 70s, you needed to have property in order to even vote in the country.
Yeah.
There were a group of Liberians who gave it all, that they don't have to take government job. They will fight for a change.
Yeah.
And they fought for that. Today, a Joshua is a president, which never happened before. There were even a group of Liberians who decided that Charles Taylor was not good for Liberia. And they will fight. And they did. Even some almost lost their life. They could have taken a job in government. But those who feel they can only go on the side that has potential to win because they want the easy route, I think they need to reflect. I think those people, may not be fighting for the interests of Liberia. They may be fighting for a parochial interest. We need to stand up for what we believe in, and what we believe in must be for the good of the country. Even if it means we don't win, there can be victory in loss. You know what? Because if you lose and the issues you lost on are issues that come to haunt the country later, they say, if we are listening to Maurice Kruman, Maurice said it. Today, there are many scholars who made reference to Aberport. Even Jerry Wilmer Bladden, when the coup took place, others reference his writing when he advised the ruling class at the time that if you exclude the natives from education, these people will turn against you because they will feel excluded from the system. And when 1980 happened, some of the people regretted it. This was the advice of Edward Wilmer Bladden, that do not use education as a weapon against the natives. So I think we should stand up for what we believe in, even if it means we don't get to win, but let history record that Maurice stood on this.
Thank you.
Not find an easy route.
Thank you. Mrs. Mova.
Well, thank you, Dennis. It was a great show. Thank you to everybody that participated. I think Liberia is on a way to making a very crucial decision. And I just hope that people should make decisions based on what is good for the country and not be blown by winds or, wealth. So we all need to make sure that at the end of the day, the interest of the country is taking above every other interest. Thank you so far. And it was a great show tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Kruman.
Yeah, Dennis, thank you so much for the opportunity again. Mr. Gaiman Kelabo, my sister Alice, thank you so much for allowing me to share the stage with you to talk about things that are pertinent to all of us and our country. I'm honored to have had this opportunity. While I do respect Kelabo subtle comments towards me, it's part of the body politics of the country. We have to respect people for their positions. The whole idea about the interests of the country, the good of the country, those words, when you contextualize them into our politics, it doesn't mean anything, because broadly, our politics is, that whole thing about good and interest is based on the individual perception about what that means to that person. And so my decision to support Joseph Nima Boaka remains firm, and it's not shocked by anything. So we're gonna elevate this conversation at some point in the second round of the elections. I have no doubt that Councillor Gonglow and Caleb, all of them will join us in uprooting the current gangsters that we have in charge of our country to save our country and rescue it from the hands of these unqualified goons that are in charge. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for your time, for spending the Friday night with us, where some of you are supposed to be on a happy hour. I want to thank our viewers for always watching, even those who will watch later. We say thank you very much. Support us and keep watching us. Call us or drop me a line. Your criticism and your support help us to keep the lights on. We appreciate it. Whether you are Muslim, you are Christian, you are Buddhist, or no religion or adherent to traditional belief, we are all Liberians. Whether you support Boakai or Charlene, or you support Yombly or Gonglow, we are all Liberians. What we should do or strive to do every day is to do our very best to make Liberia the glorious land of liberty. Why? Because we are all Liberians. Good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Here you raise the ugly one. Liberia, oh. Here you raise the ugly one. Liberia, Liberia.